When you talk about how far we come as a country and we look, you have to have that open dialogue. You have to have that uncomfortable situation at times to discuss the good history of this country and the bad history of this country and come to agree to disagree or come to a point where you don't repeat history. And I think it was at Carolyn's church that we were talking about Dr. King, and I said, I don't know if he was here, would he say, we are going ahead or we've moved back? And I would have to believe he would say we've moved back in certain areas, and it's so important to not just celebrate black and brown people that have done extraordinary things in this country, but to look at just your ordinary neighbors too, and really say, what you inspire your neighbors, inspire and do extraordinary things in your neighborhood by becoming a voice in government, by just showing people by actions of doing stuff in your neighborhood or helping that person, guide them right when they're starting to fall a little bit and stumble, and you pick them up and you move them in the right direction. How much influence someone's life has on somebody in the black and brown community, that they can just look them in the eyes and say, hey kid, I've been there and this is what you can do better. And we really need to recognize a lot of people that have set the trend in the community to do different things. And one of the things that we are here to talk about extraordinary things, and FX really has done a lot for the African American community with the arts and highlighting it. And I believe the History Museum is now doing something right now with a nice display they're putting out there, and we should all get up there and look at it. And the impact it has on communities, because we always say, after COVID, we built back businesses, we gave tons of money to this, tons of money to that, CDTA, airports, government. But what we really didn't do is give money back to arts and music. And how do you inspire somebody? How do you hit that spark plug in somebody's life and saying, you know what, you might not care about a math equation or a science problem or whatever the issue is, but through art and through music.
Thank you for joining us for this year's Black History Month event. This year's theme is African Americans and the Arts. Through visual and performing arts, literature, fashion, folklore, language, film, music, architecture, culinary, and other forms of cultural expressions, the African American influence has been paramount. Joining us today, we have educators and students from Youth FX who will share with us what Youth FX is all about and what their impact is through the use of digital media technology has on the Albany community.
First off, I just want to thank the county executive and thank everybody in his office and at the legislature for inviting us to speak. We're always appreciative of a platform to share about the work that we do, and very excited to have our education, the lead educators, our education team, and our amazing two of our amazing students here to share a little bit. But I wanted to just kind of start with just a brief introduction to Youth FX. Some people might know about us, some people might not know about us. Youth FX came out of this idea back in 2008 that we needed programs in the city of Albany, longtime city of Albany resident, and I was an educator at the time working at the Albany Free School, working at Albany High, and working at Hackett Middle School as a teaching artist. And one of the things that I noticed is that while there was a lot of excitement and energy around filmmaking, especially because of the advances in technology, we didn't have anything in Albany that was training young people in this field. We need to kind of create something. So we had one camera and we had one computer, and we started a program over the summer in 2008. And the interesting thing about that program is, I was like so hyped. I had a big open house. I was like, everyone that wants to sign up, come. 3 people showed up. 3 young people that I knew, that I had worked with. And rather than me saying, oh man, I felt despair, I said, you know what? What do these 3 people want to do? How do they want to kind of see this program, designed and implemented? And so I had a great conversation with them, and those 3 young people were Darian Henry, Majestic Tillman, and Rashid Howell. And all 3 of them remained involved with Youth FX throughout the years. And I'm really proud to say that now, today, Darian Henry is the co-executive director of the program, and Rashid is our technical director. So when we started Youth FX back in 2008, we only had 14 students. It was a small program. It was a summer for 4 weeks. We had no funding. We got funded by a small little donation through a filmmaking group here in Albany. And, you know, no one really got paid. There was a lot of volunteers, a lot of people helping out. But we kind of stuck with it and grew and grew. But one of the things about the program that was so critical and important is we were creating space for young kids, specifically kids in the city of Albany neighborhoods that have not been able to access these because they have been historically under-resourced in areas of technology and the arts. We really said, what stories do you want to tell? How do you want to kind of have your vision be kind of put out into the world through the power of film? One of the things that was really, really important to us was how do we actually create a space that people feel like they belong? Because most important to us is about creating community. And I think the power of filmmaking is that it's a collaborative art form. You know, you can sit in a studio and just kind of paint or draw, and these are all amazing art forms as well. But film has the unique ability to bring large groups of people together. Over the course of the years, we also had an incredible success with taking our films across the country at film festivals. Our films have screened all the way from, you know, I remember we did a screening at LA Film Festival and won an award, and we had a sponsor pay for our tickets. Some of the students, for the first time even being on a plane. We got to meet Questlove and Zendaya. It was like a very exciting opportunity for them because it was a big festival. And then I remember sitting in that room when they were about to announce the award for Best Youth Film, and students, a couple of them had taken their shoes off because they were getting comfortable in those seats. And then they called their names up and they said the winner is Falling by Youth FX. And they all looked at me shocked, and I was like, you better get your shoes on and get up on that stage. And they beat out other films that had bigger cameras. They were in LA, so they're like competing against these high schools that have, you know, like thousands and thousands of dollar budgets for all their films, kids who are like sons and daughters of celebrities. But the one thing that stood out about the Youth FX film is it had soul. It had a message. It had something deeper than just a beautiful image and good, you know, kind of like visuals. It had a deeper message and a meaning to it. And that's what resonated with the jury who decided, you know, which film was going to win that year. And not everybody that goes through our program is going to be a filmmaker. But I'm going to tell you that so many young people that have gone through a program have found their voice and then decide how they want to kind of use that voice in the world, whether it be, again, through film, whether it be in other realms like, you know, law. We have some students who have come back and they became lawyers. And they said it gave me I knew how to present things. I knew how to share my ideas. I knew how to make a case for what I was thinking about and how to kind of convince people of my ideas were the best ones. So I was like, hey, well, that works, you know? So, you know, because we're not really about just creating, again, like the best films. We're about creating a community for young people to feel like they belong and are a part of something.
Youth FX is a pathway. One thing that I think now about Youth FX is that it really is the center of gravity, not just for myself, but for a lot of other young artists that are in the community. Like Bowen first mentioned, I actually went through the program as a youth myself. I got started at the age of 16. So at the time, I was in the theater drama department at Albany High School, which Youth FX partnered with. And a lot of my friends were making these really cinematic films. And I'm like, how do I get a part of this? Like, these are movies that you could see easily in the movie theater at like your local Regal. And I wanted to do that. So I got familiar with them in the summer because they partnered with Summer Youth Employment. So not only was I able to get the experience, but I was getting paid. And I was getting paid good money. I was able to go back to school and, you know, get, you know, not just supplies, but also, you know, go back to school with a nice little wardrobe. And it really changed my mindset of like, an artist, sometimes you feel like you have to pay your dues. You know, you have to just intern and sometimes you won't get paid, but it's okay because you'll get the experience. And I realized that that's not always the case and that you can get paid your worth and still make art that is valuable and near and dear to your heart. So I'm really thankful for Youth FX of giving me the pathway of not just the experience, but then also the knowledge and also my worth as an artist.
When I met Youth FX, I was actually in college. I was studying things I didn't want to study. I was just doing it just for the degree. I wasn't very passionate in what I was studying. And then I came to a screening at Youth FX, and I was amazed by it. I thought that filmmaking in Albany was something that was so far away. I thought I'd have to move to like California or like New York City to have access to that. And I went to this screening in Spectrum Theaters, and I was blown away. And then I ended up getting an internship in 2018. And I felt comfortable, and I didn't feel confused. And it was kind of weird because I was doing something that is like an additive to my life, but like I loved and actually really looked forward to doing it. So I realized that it was a passion and it wasn't a hobby. And then I ultimately became working for the summer program in 2019, and then I actually, as Bowen mentioned, I was a fellow in Arts to Work. And then ultimately after that, they hired me, so I am full-time as well, which I share the same gratefulness as Camille, because I was very lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was a sociology major. I don't even like sociology. I just wanted to get the degree, make my mom proud, but I'm like, this is something that's not gonna fuel me. And then after I encountered Youth FX, I made a minor in film at UAlbany, and now I'm able to do what I love. I never thought I would work with youth, but I guess I found my calling here and doing what I love most.
So the first program is the History Reclamation Project. So typically, as we know in filmmaking, when you look at the history of filmmaking, a lot of those stories are not really being told by people of color, right? They're told by, this white hetero norm. So it's a really big, responsibility for us at Youth FX to kind of change and shift the narrative of who gets to tell the stories, but more specifically, who gets to tell our stories. A lot of our students all voiced to us that they weren't really learning any new lessons, which was kind of very, alarming to me. But, in that way, in that sense, we could mine that gap for them. We could teach them not just Black history, but Albany's Black history. Because sometimes we think that history is so far removed from us, but it's right here in our community. So the next program is actually very dear to my heart because I led that program, The Empowered Actor. I was nurtured, in terms of the arts. And sometimes you don't really see that. Sometimes a lot of art spaces and institutions feel like they have to break you in order to build you up. So it was really important to me that, I'm teaching these students, I'm giving them constructive criticism, but I'm also nurturing them. I'm also, feeding them their soul, their mind, and all that in the process, but it's also a sense of collaboration for them. And it's also very important to say that all these programs are free. Because when we think about acting, a lot of the institutions, there's a tuition, and it's a hefty tuition. So it's really important to me that the programs are completely free of charge, and they're getting the experience, because some of our students are going on to college, or they're going on to pursue this professionally, and they need these tools in order to get their foot in the door. They need a reel, they need headshots, they need all these things that can be very costly, but it's important for me that I provide them with all these things, so if they want to pursue it professionally, their foot's already in the door.
Another program that we had this year is Concepts and Colors, a music video production program. It's actually this was the first year it was running, and I had the opportunity to create and lead and facilitate that program. So with this program, it was a 6-week intensive program that included a handful of youth. And with this program, over the course of 6 weeks, they learn how to, the basics of filmmaking and cinematography. So they learn how to edit, how to film, creative design, how to create storyboards, all the things that are crucial and critical in creating something that's a visual art. So with this program, they were ultimately able to collaborate with a local Albany artist. His name is Ozzy, very talented artist out here. And as Bowen mentioned, not only do we want to incorporate the youth in the programs, but also talent in Albany, other creatives, other artists who also, may have a hard time just kind of grasping opportunities here because of the color of their skin. And another program that we have currently going on right now is Framing Our Futures. And this is a 20-week intensive free photography program that is led by 2 very talented photographers here in the Capital District, Jayana Espinoza and Tyler Kyrie. Tyler Kyrie is an editorial and fashion photographer, has been featured in Vogue. And Jayana is a very talented documentarian through photography and a portrait photographer, and takes really amazing photos of babies as well. So they collaborated on this program to give the access and education, kind of just skill of photography to these students for free. So during these 20 weeks, they go home with the camera. They are free. There's no rules on what you want to take a photo of. It's like what you're just drawn to. And over the 20 weeks, they're educated on how to edit photos, different photography styles, different angles, telling a story through photography, lighting, all these things that are crucial in telling a story through a photo. And ultimately, when they leave this program, they'll have a portfolio. They'll have experience and, collaborating with other artists, and speaking up for themselves, and just having creative direction and having that on their own and it not being given to them. Before I was a staff member, I was a fellow, a part of the Arts to Work Fellowship. And the Arts to Work Fellowship was a 10-month-long paid, which was great for my pockets. It was a 10-month-long paid hands-on job training program. And it was opened up to young folks of color between the ages of 20 and 24. So this program really emphasized giving people of color the training, opportunity, the creative process, and becoming a creative. So over the course of 10 months, we were able to get experience in filmmaking, cinematography, editing. We were able to learn how to create a budget, how to write grants, how to collaborate with other artists. So this program was really dedicated to giving people who have been kind of not had the opportunity to get careers in film and give them the opportunity to have those resources, that experience, and that community to later go into it.
The summer program is how I first got familiar with YouthFX. So it was really nice this past summer to lead the program with Deja. It really felt like a full circle moment for me because I went through the program as a youth. I was originally 16 in the program, learning for the 6 weeks. I made my first narrative film, and through producing my first narrative film, I had a sense of exploration, self-discovery, confidence, this newfound confidence, really, being able to advocate for myself. And then the next summer when I came back, I directed another film. And not only was that film selected for multiple film festivals, but it aired on PBS, it won many awards. And I was able to have these really tough conversations because of this film.
During the summer, as Camille mentioned, it's a month-long intensive program. Every single day, except for weekends, we give them a break. But it's a paid opportunity and program that's opened up to youth between the ages of 13 and 18. And they're able to become a student of YouthFX, and over the course of a month, they learn the fundamentals of creating a film and also just being in community with one another and emphasizing how important that is as being a creative. We're gonna show a video that really encompasses the beauty, the bonds, and the community of YouthFX. And this was filmed with a lot of the students from last summer and the summer before that as well.
YouthFX was founded in 2008. We're based in upstate New York in the Capital Region, in Albany South End, but we are a national organization that works with young people ages 10 to 25 to use the power of filmmaking and digital media as a way for young people to tell their stories, to have impacts in their communities, and to build solidarity and connection with each other.
It's just important. Like, filmmaking really taught me how to communicate with people better, how to respect people better, how to have way more patience. I think I'm way more patient than how I used to be from working on sets and stuff like that. And you learn how to communicate better without being mean all the time. Or you learn constructive criticism. And honestly, I don't know where I would be if I didn't have the chance to make films, because it's so much fun. And it's good to clear your head, and you learn so much from it. More than just learning how to work a camera, you learn life.
In the work that I do at YouthFX, I'm always thinking about the historical and the spiritual significance of telling stories. And so even when we begin programming and even when we begin engagement, we often start off with, what is the truth that we know about film? What is the truth that we know about how film has been used to suppress stories, to suppress ourselves? And how can we reimagine and re-envision the use of this tool to correct some of the wrongs that have happened, not only to us personally, but in context to our community, in context to our family story, to context of how we view ourselves and each other.
I feel like our stories are always told by someone that is not of color, and they always have this persona of us when they make the story. So being able to have a program like this to be able to express ourselves and create things that we want to see in the future, what we want to see as change, because we are the future.
And I think a lot of people in my generation need a support system and guidance. And I feel like having a space like Youth Effects just gives you the freedom to be yourself.
I think a really significant aspect of our organizational values is trust, and trusting young people to hold space and to be themselves uninterrupted by the typical expectations that are often in our culture, in our society, about how they're supposed to act or how they're supposed to be in community with each other. And so I just wanted to shout y'all out for just being comfortable and being open in the space. And really nice to meet you. But yeah, y'all are a great group. This was awesome.
It's a great group of people. It's a great group of people. They're all very talented, so it wasn't hard to listen.
Making films to me is the ability to share my mind with others. I feel like you can basically make anything that you can dream of. And honestly, doing the Youth Effects program has been a little bit of a dream come true, because it allows me a certain freedom. I get to make my own story and share my own voice. It makes me feel heard, and it's a way to also connect to people who may feel how I feel.
A really significant thing that we don't talk about enough is that all of Youth FX's programs are free of cost. And I think that in and of itself has really dismantled the barriers often associated with filmmaking. And so it's just how can we broaden the scope of access for young people while also creating space that allows them to be themselves and to engage with others.
Access is so important for this program, in the sense of I'm never gonna learn this stuff until I go to college. So the fact that I can touch a Canon camera and learn how to use it and interview people, help interview people, show my skills in sound and stuff like that, and talk to people who know more about it, but aren't putting me in a situation where I have to prove myself. I could just learn from them and we could build that relationship.
Where we're located is really important, because I think we need this type of program, because I think there is a lack of vision for a lot of young people, because a lot of them see Albany as a place that they want to leave and get out of. And so I think it's important for us to be investing in the arts in the Capital Region, because I think it's a way that people can feel proud of the place that they live in. Filmmaking and the art form that we're engaged in is a way to kind of present a different vision of what the city of Albany and what the Capital Region could be. Because I think often when you're living in areas that have not had access to the resources that they deserve, people start to internalize a real negative perception of their communities. And I think what we're trying to do is flip that, and we're trying to have young people feel proud of where they're at and be able to shape that future by telling the stories that are rooted in their communities.
The future for Youth FX is definitely bright. I love daydreaming about the future and all that's possible for us. I think on the horizon, we have so much in mind. I think honoring the deeper ways that we can continue to engage young people. I think over the course of the past 3 years since the onset of the pandemic, it's how can we assess the significant need for mental health support in organizations that work with young people, and even the significance of social work and trauma-informed process in filmmaking. What ways can we re-envision and redefine how we're telling stories and how we're teaching young people how to tell stories that is not replicating the dominant process and in turn inflicting more harm. So I think I look forward to just a lot of growth and development for Youth FX and all the ways that we can continue expanding our ideas and all the things that we've learned.
three main things that I took away from being a part of Youth Effects in general. One of them being community. Obviously, the pandemic was hard on everybody, especially for me just as a young person. I felt a lot more anxious and a lot less, I guess, a part of my community. And being able to be a part of Youth Effects, just from the beginning, just doing an interview with Deja and Camille, just from the jump, I could feel that this was a really nice and safe environment for me. And going into it, it helped me definitely find my voice and be more comfortable. And I've made a lot of long-lasting relationships with people. Work, obviously, but also just friendships in general. Two, I would say resources. I've never seen the camera equipment, the filming equipment, any sort of equipment that they have at Youth Effects anywhere else. Not at my school, not any programs I've done before. And it's honestly it blows my mind. It blows me away, I meant, that they have all this stuff that we can just take for free and that we can just use. And I've done a lot of projects and I've asked them for equipment many, many times, and they've always been so nice and so willing to allow me to take the things. And I've never broken one yet, so that's good. And
yeah, it's crazy.
Yet. And lastly, I feel as though they definitely taught me the value of storytelling. I never felt like my voice really mattered. I never felt like I was really ever going to do much, especially with the pandemic, just being alone all the time. I kind of got into a mindset where I was like, I was just gonna become another statistic at the end of the day, just to put it bluntly. And being a part of this program, it just taught me so much about how our minds, our stories, our creativity, just who we are so important. And before this program, I never really cared about, documentaries. I just thought they were boring, the British guy on and PBS or something talking about random stuff. I never really liked it, but then after doing the program, I really love documentaries now. Especially documenting the city of Albany, it is just fantastic. And I'm working on a documentary now that goes over things like gun violence and just police brutality and gang violence, and they've been a great, great help. And without them, I'm not sure, where I would be right now. Filmmaking is something I definitely want to pursue in the future. Art in general, I've always been interested in, even as a child. And so, yeah, just a billion thank yous to them. They've helped me so much, and this is a really, really, really amazing program.
Youth Effects for me really is the center of gravity. I started Youth Effects when I was in elementary school. I went to Albany School of Humanities, which I found out was a performing arts school now, which is why I obviously love performing arts. I was learning it. So I found out that it was a performing arts school, and I had an acting teacher named Noelle Gentile, and she had asked me one day to, if I can be a part of this film, and, should she have permission to film me? And I'm like, yeah. So I ended up doing that film, and my dad was like, one day he came home, he was like, you're in a film? I'm like, I am. Forgetting that she even asked me. And it was a Youth Effects film, and I didn't know much about Youth Effects until I got to Albany High. And I had met Camille, who was my mentor when I was in elementary school, because Albany High and Ash had a combined where high school actors came to help with people who are becoming actors. So then I met Camille, she was like, oh, you're my mentor? And I was like, yeah. And I always called her Miss Camille. And it was always Miss Camille this, Miss Camille that. I got to Youth Effects, I did the summer program, they came to do a presentation for our class, and they were like, do the summer program. And Camille kept grilling me like, do the summer program, do the summer program. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do the summer program. So I did the summer program, and the first day and I also had Gregory Marsh, who was my other teacher during Albany High. And the first day I got to the summer program, they were like, drop the mister, it's Greg. And I was like, okay. And then Camille was like, drop the miss, it's Camille. And I'm like, okay. And then Miss Noel was like, drop the miss, it's Noel. I'm like, okay. And so that in itself kind of gave me a comfort, because you're treating us as equals, and we also have that trust with each other. And the first day, the first thing they said was, you're doing a film this summer. And I was like, how long's the program? They said 6 weeks. I was like, we're not doing a film. And I didn't know nobody in the group. And what's weird is my first summer, I was a new face. It was all old face, and I was a new face. And the second summer, I was an old face, and it was all new faces. So each time for me, it was I'm not gonna really connect with people as much. And I connect with a lot. A lot of people, Crystal right here, we're really close now, and it's because of Youth Effects. And I really want to touch on that point, with community, it's not just even about the art, it's really the community. The trust was built so much, even when we did the 5-hour film. Like the first week, it's just community building. We're getting to know each other. Then we did the 5-hour film, and they're giving us the cameras, and it's like, you're trusting us with these cameras? These cameras like $1,000. You trusting us like with cameras? And they're like, yeah. It's like they're really just there. And the one thing with Youth FX, it's never no. It's always how. It's like, okay, but how are we gonna do that? It's never no, we can't do that. It's not enough. It's not that. And so it came to be like a second home to me. Like I feel like Youth FX is such a comfort for me. Like if I'm feeling down, I know like Youth FX will be like, okay, I can call somebody from Youth FX, and they'll be the person to pick my head up. And it's shown me like I do have a voice. My voice matters. I like to touch on that with photography. I was a part of the Gordon Parks program. And since then, I have been in 3 exhibits for my photo called My Melanin is My Weapon, where I used a self-portrait of myself that I took. And I was a part of the Albany Institute. We did something with that called Lenses. And then I was also a part of the Picture and Injustice. And this week, we did something with UAlbany. And I didn't expect me at 17. I think I was like 16 or 17 when I took that photo. I'm now 18. I never expected it to get as far as it did. The fact that people want to buy my photo, the fact that I was against other photographers for Picture and Injustice and got picked is just so empowering to me. Because like he said, I didn't expect me in Albany to like have this type of access. I feel like with Albany, we have the stigma that you can't get out of here. Like there's no success within Albany. And being able to have this success, being able to like show that. I even auditioned for a performing arts school and got in. So having that, it's like, wow, I really did that with Youth FX. And I feel like it's just so shocking to me and it's so empowering because it's not just us. We're also dealing with other artists who are coming up in this generation too, and it's like we're all together. We all have the same things. It's like, so yeah, I also want to thank you guys so much for all the opportunities, for all the love you give. I remember like this one time during the summer program we were filming, and something bad happened to me that day, and it was just like, I was just breaking down. And we stopped filming the whole time just to have like a conversation. And I was like, this is like really a family. Like I can't, like it's not just us sitting here doing a film. Like if you seen those photos, we did not know each other the first week. Like the first week we were all just sitting there, lunches were quiet, we were all just on our phones, just on the phone eating. And then I think like 2 days later, we're having different conversations when I come up with films like, what if you were to leave teenagers in the house by themselves, which is like a film that we have now, based off of that idea. So yeah, I want to say thank you guys so much for all the opportunities you give us.
I'm just really compelled by listening to Bawa, who I remember when you started this program, and to know that you have been steadfast for almost 16 years now. I am really honored to know you and to know what you have given back to this community. And the educators, and to know that you all came out of Albany High, and you two young people said some things that really resonated with me about how even you understand that people think that Albany's a dead-end place. You show that it is not. And the way you represent this program, I'm telling you, they got to take you on the road. They really do. They've got to get you in front of funders, such as the county. So I believe that the ARPA money that is coming to your organization is well spent money. I see that. And I'm sure my colleague Mert, who was a part of the ARPA team, we know that that's money that's well spent. That outcomes, we're seeing it. So I am just really, I'm so glad I came today. And I look forward to coming down and witnessing you at work. But what you represent out of Albany High is something a story that is not being told. The story that we are hearing right now about what is coming out of Albany High is not a good one. But if we saw more like you, we would know that that is the minority and you are the majority. You represent the majority of what is coming out of Albany High. I have nieces and nephews that have graduated and gone on and become great people and contributors to this society. And the way you talk about community, that is a story that is not being told. And I'm telling you, whatever I can do as a legislator to make sure that this story continues to be told and it gets expanded, we have an obligation, Mert, we have an obligation, and anybody else, the county executive has done his part, but we have an obligation to make sure that this story that your story gets told. You're telling Albany's story, you're telling other stories, but we have an obligation to make sure your story gets told. And I'm committed to doing that because you're going to change the city of Albany.
Thank you. Thank you. And I mean that. And I look forward to continue working with your organization and the legislature on other initiatives.